The phone rang at 11:52 at night. We were already in bed, the room dark and quiet, the way it always was after a long day. I was half gone, drifting in that soft space between awake and asleep when she moved. Not slowly, not drowsily the way you reach for something when you're tired. Fast. She grabbed that phone off a nightstand so fast it was like she'd been lying there waiting for it, eyes wide open in the dark, holding her breath. "Hello," she whispered, and something in me, some quiet, sleeping part of me, cracked open. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled, because what I'm about to tell you changed my entire life. And if it helps even one person out there trust themselves, then every word is worth it. I heard a man's voice on the other end, muffled, but unmistakably male, low and warm, the way someone sounds when they're comfortable, when they're familiar. "Wrong number," she said quickly. Too quickly. She hung up, turned the phone face down on the nightstand, and slid back under the covers like nothing had happened. Like it was nothing. Like it was just another 11:52 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice easy, unbothered. "I don't know. Wrong number. At midnight. Yeah, weird, right?" She yawned. A perfect yawn. Practiced, almost. "Go back to sleep, babe." I lay there in the dark staring at the ceiling, and I could not move. I listened to her breathing slow down, watch her body settle, watched her pretend to fall back asleep, and I just lay there. Something in my chest had shifted. Something quiet and heavy had landed inside me, and I couldn't name it yet, but I felt it. I felt it the way you feel rain before it falls. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 39 years old. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I work as a senior project coordinator for a mid-sized commercial construction firm. I wear worn boots and carry a battered hard hat in the back of my truck. I spend my days making sure buildings go up straight and on time, managing timelines, managing people, managing problems. I'm good at my job. I've always been good at solving problems. I just never thought I'd have to solve this one. My wife, Carrie, and I met 10 years ago at a mutual friend's backyard cookout. She was standing by the grill holding a paper plate, laughing at something someone said, and when she laughed, her whole face changed. She was a dental hygienist, warm and funny, the kind of woman who remembered birthdays without being reminded, who always showed up with more food than necessary, who made every room feel a little bit safer. We got married after 2 years together, bought a house in a quiet neighborhood, talked about kids the way you talk about things you're sure of. "Someday," she'd say, smiling over her coffee cup. I believed her. I believed all of it. For the first 6 years, we were good. We had our rhythms, our routines. I'd leave for work by 6:30. She'd follow at 8. We'd text through the day, nothing heavy, just checking in, just the small, ordinary language of a life shared. "What do you want for dinner? How's your day going? I'll grab milk on the way home." In the evenings, we'd sit together, watch something, talk about nothing and everything. Weekends, I'd work on the house. I built a deck in the backyard one summer, planks and screws and sweat, a whole season of Saturdays. She planted a garden beside it. We painted the guest room together, and she laughed so hard when I got more paint on my face than the wall that she had to sit down on the drop cloth. It felt solid. It felt like something built to last. But somewhere around year 7, things began to shift. Quietly, the way a tide goes out. Not all at once, just slowly less. She stopped asking about my day. She started staying late at work more often. She got a second phone, said the dental office wanted the hygienist to have a separate line for patient callbacks. Made sense. It made sense. She guarded that phone like it carried state secrets, but still, I told myself it made sense. The late nights started about 8 months before that phone call. "Dr. Morrison needs help with the new patient onboarding system." She'd say, "I'll be home by 9. 9 became 10. 10 became 11. I'd text, "You okay?" She'd reply, "Yeah, just swamped, don't wait up." And I didn't, because I trusted her. Because that's what you do when you've built a life with someone. You trust them. But that night, after that phone call, lying in the dark beside a woman whose breathing had gone carefully, deliberately even, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop hearing that voice. Muffled, warm, comfortable. And I couldn't stop seeing the way she grabbed that phone. The next morning, I waited until I heard the shower turn on. Then I did something I had never done in 10 years of marriage. I picked up her phone off the nightstand. No passcode. She'd always said she had nothing to hide. I opened a call log. There it was. 11:52 p.m., a number I had never seen before. My hands were already shaking when I walked out to the garage and closed the door behind me. I dialed. 1 ring. 2 rings. Then a man's voice, warm and low. "Hey, baby. You forget something." The world stopped. I stood in my own garage, surrounded by every tool I'd ever used to build and fix and improve the life we shared, and I felt the floor go out from under me. Not figuratively. I mean, my legs actually stopped working for a second. I had to put my hand on the workbench to stay upright. He hadn't said hello. He hadn't said, "Who is this?" He'd said, "Hey, baby," like he'd said it 1,000 times. Like he knew exactly who was calling. Like she was his. I hung up. I stood there in the silence of that garage for a long time, staring at the wall. And somewhere upstairs, the shower was still running. If something in this story is already hitting close to home, drop a comment. Just tell me where you're watching from. I want to know how far this has traveled. Keep listening, because what I discovered next, the name, the proof, the pattern, I couldn't have imagined it. And it only gets harder from here. I want to work that day. I sat through meetings, reviewed blueprints, signed off on change orders. I did all of it on autopilot because my mind was stuck in that garage, stuck on 2 words. Hey, baby. Not hello. Not who's this. Hey, baby. Like a man who'd been waiting for her call. I sat in my truck at lunch and stared at the steering wheel for a long time. I could call back, demand answers. But if I did that, she'd know I knew. She'd have time to delete everything, to clean up the trail, to get her story straight, and hand it to me with a smile. No. I had spent years learning to manage complicated problems at work, learning to be patient, to gather information before making a move. I was going to do this right. I was going to find out the truth. All of it. And I was going to do it on my terms. If you want to know what I found when I started digging, and why what I uncovered next made me realize this wasn't just a mistake, it was a plan. Stay with me. Part 2 is where everything begins to unravel. I didn't say a word to Carrie that night. I watched her instead. Not in an obvious way, just paid attention. Really paid attention, maybe for the first time in months. She sat across from me at the dinner table, phone in her hand, smiling at the screen in small private flickers, typing fast, then deleting, then retyping. Her eyes were soft, the kind of soft I used to think was for me. "Work stuff?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, not looking up. "Dr. Morrison is impossible to organize. I'm trying to help him build out the new scheduling system." I nodded, picked up my fork, said nothing. The next morning, I called my friend Marcus. We'd been close since college. He worked in IT, the kind of guy who could find things that weren't supposed to be found. I told him over drinks after work. Just laid it out, flat and clean. The late nights. The second phone. The call at midnight. The 2 words that wrecked me. His face went serious in that way that told me he already understood. "I need to know who he is," I said. "You try reverse lookup?" "Nothing. Number's not connected to any public records." He was quiet for a moment. "Give me the number." 2 days later, he called me back. I was in my truck in a parking lot at work when my phone rang, and I sat very still as he said the name. Caleb Thornton, 35 years old, marketing director, single, lives in South Park. I wrote it down on a gas station receipt, held it in my hand for a while. Caleb Thornton, a name I had never heard in my life, not once, not in passing, not in any story she'd ever told me. I looked him up the way anyone would in the age of a smartphone. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Caleb Thornton, marketing director, CrossFit regular, golden retriever owner. In his profile photo, he was tan and confident in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. The kind of guy who used words like synergy without embarrassment. I scrolled through his Instagram slowly, carefully. Gym selfies, brunch photos, his dog, a golden retriever he'd named something predictable. And then I stopped. A photo from 3 months ago. A rooftop restaurant in uptown Raleigh I recognized because I'd taken Carrie there for our anniversary 2 years before. In the background, barely visible at a corner table, a woman with dark hair in a blue dress. I zoomed in. The air left my body. It was Carrie. 3 months ago. She had told me she was going to team dinner for work. She came home at nearly midnight, her cheeks warm, smelling of wine and perfume I didn't recognize. I kissed her goodnight and told her I was glad she had fun. I had kissed her goodnight. I sat in my garage until I couldn't sit anymore. Then I went inside and said goodnight and lay in the dark beside her and stared at the ceiling and told myself to breathe. Over the next 10 days, I became someone I didn't fully recognize. I checked the location sharing app we'd set up years ago, back when we were the couple with nothing to hide. I noticed the days she said she was working late. Her location would show South Park. Not the office. South Park. I checked her phone bill, found the number she'd been texting most. Caleb Thornton's number. Hundreds of texts going back 6 months. I couldn't read the content without her phone, but I didn't need to. The frequency said everything. Then one evening, I drove to South Park after work. Found the address Marcus had given me, a glass and steel apartment building with valet parking and a lobby that looked like a hotel. I sat in my truck across the street. At 7:30 p.m., Carrie's car pulled up. My heart stopped beating for a full second. I watched her step out, check her reflection in the glass of the building's entrance, and walk inside. She was not carrying her work bag. She was carrying an overnight bag. I sat there for 2 hours. Through a window on the 4th floor, at just past 9, I saw them. Carrie and a man I now knew was Caleb Thornton, standing close, wine glasses in hand, laughing. He pulled her toward him. She leaned in. I took photos, video, time-stamped everything. Then I drove home, parked in a garage, and sat in the dark until her car pulled in at 11:30. She walked in through the kitchen door smiling, kissed my cheek. "Hey, babe. Sorry I'm late. Staff meeting ran long." "No problem," I said. "I'm just glad you're home." She smiled and went upstairs. I sat on the couch holding my phone with pictures on it that could end everything, and I felt something inside me that I still don't have a proper word for. It wasn't just grief. It was the specific, quiet devastation of realizing that the person you trusted most in the world had become a stranger. That you had been pouring love into something that had already been quietly hollowed out. I know this is heavy. If you're still here, it means something in this story is touching something real in you. Drop a comment. Tell me your city. Tell me you're here. Because what comes next, what I found on a laptop, what I read with my own eyes, that was the moment I understood the full weight of what had been done. Part 3 is where the truth comes out completely. The following Saturday, Carrie went to brunch with friends. The moment her car left the driveway, I opened her laptop. No password. She had always trusted me with everything. The irony of that sat in my chest like a stone. I searched her email for Caleb's name. Hundreds of results loaded. I started reading, and my hands began to shake so badly I had to press them flat on the desk. "I can't wait to see you tonight. He's working late again. We have the whole evening. I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. Soon, I promise. I just need to figure out the right time to tell him." I stopped. "Read that last line again. Read it 3 more times. I just need to figure out the right time to tell him." She had been planning to leave me. Not thinking about it. Not struggling with it. Planning it. Timing it. Deciding when to deliver the news to me like it was a difficult work conversation she'd been putting off. I uploaded screenshots to a secure account. Then I checked her texts, synced to the laptop. More of the same. Months of "I love you," and "I miss you," and "I can't wait to be with you." There were photos, too. Nothing I want to describe, but intimate in a way that made me understand, truly understand, that this had been real and lasting and serious for a very long time. I closed the laptop, sat in the quiet of our house, the house we had picked out together, the house where I had painted walls and fixed pipes and built a life, board by board, day by day. 9 years. 9 years. And she had been building a different life in the space I didn't know existed. I didn't confront her that day, or the next, or the week after. I went on playing the role, the husband who didn't know, the man who came home and asked how your day was and meant it. Every night, I added to the evidence file. And every night, I lay beside her and felt the distance between us like a physical thing, vast and cold and permanent. Monica, my attorney, had told me to wait. Let her feel safe. The longer she believes nothing has changed, the more careless she becomes. She was right. 2 weeks later, Carrie left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. I opened it. Found the most recent messages with Caleb. Caleb, when are you going to tell him? Carrie, soon. I'm just waiting for the right moment. He's going to be devastated. Caleb, I know, babe, but we can't keep doing this. I want to hear full time. Carrie, I want that too. Just a little more time. I took a screenshot, sent it to myself, deleted the evidence from her phone, set it back on the counter, and walked to the backyard. Stood on the deck I had built with my own hands, the deck she used to sit on in the mornings with her coffee, and I looked at the garden she had planted beside it, the flowers coming up through the soil, and I cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, standing there alone, with the sound of the shower still running inside. Then I wiped my face, went back inside, made coffee, said good morning when she came downstairs, and called my lawyer first thing Monday to say I was ready to file. I wasn't home when they served her the papers. Monica had told me to be at work, let the process server handle it, keep my distance. So I sat in a meeting about load-bearing walls and approved a change order for a concrete pour and watched the clock move toward 2:47 p.m., which is when my phone rang. Daniel. Her voice was shaking. Something close to shattered. What is this? Divorce papers, I said. The word had weight. Even saying it, even after everything, it landed with a thud somewhere in my chest. I had practiced saying it calmly. I managed it. Why? She was crying now. How did you? We need to talk about this. Please come home. There's nothing to talk about. Daniel, please. Come home. We can figure this out. I'm not coming home, Carrie. I'm staying at a hotel. Silence. Then, softly, for how long? Until the divorce is final. Another silence, longer this time. Then, you can't just leave. I'm not leaving, I said. You already left. 6 months ago. I hung up. She called back 17 times. I forwarded every voicemail to Monica without listening to them past the first 10 seconds. She texted, please, we can fix this. I don't know what you think is happening, but you're wrong. Daniel, I love you. Please come home. I didn't respond to any of them. Not because I didn't feel anything, because I felt everything, grief and anger and a specific, bone-deep exhaustion that comes from performing normalcy for months while your life quietly burns, but because I had already said what needed to be said. The first legal meeting was the following week. Carrie's attorney was a man named Glenn Parsons. Expensive suit, loud voice, the kind of lawyer who mistakes confidence for competence. He opened by announcing that his client was willing to reconcile, that this was a misunderstanding resolvable through counseling. Monica didn't even look up from her notepad. Your client has been engaged in an extramarital affair for at least 6 months. There is no misunderstanding. Glenn's smile slipped. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? Monica slid a folder across the table. I watched Glenn open it. Watched him flip through the pages, the screenshots, the photos, the location data, the time-stamped everything. Watched the color in his face change as he moved from page to page. Across the table, Carrie had gone completely white. Where did you? Her voice was barely above a breath. How did you? That doesn't matter, Monica said. What matters is that it is thoroughly documented. Glenn closed the folder slowly. This doesn't necessarily affect asset division. No, Monica agreed pleasantly. But it does eliminate any claim for alimony. North Carolina law allows courts to deny spousal support to a spouse who committed adultery. Given the volume and nature of the evidence, we'll be requesting that any alimony claim be dismissed entirely. Carrie's head snapped up. Her eyes went wide, then quickly looked away. Not at Glenn, not at me. Just away. At the table. We'd like to request a brief recess, Glenn said. Of course, Monica replied. In the hallway, Monica turned to me. That went well. I looked at her. Did it? She's cornered. Her attorney knows it. Now, they'll try to negotiate their way to something manageable. What do they have to offer? Monica looked at me steadily. Desperation. She'll agree to walk away with significantly less if you agree not to pursue further damages. Further damages, I repeated. In North Carolina, there's a legal cause of action called alienation of affection. You can sue the third party, the man she had the affair with, for deliberately interfering in your marriage. I need to pause here because this next part, what happened when I filed that lawsuit, and who called me because of it, changed everything I thought I understood about what had happened to my marriage. If this story is moving you, if it's making you feel seen, drop something in the comments. Tell me your city. Tell me you're here. I'll read every single one. Keep watching. We filed the alienation of affection lawsuit 3 days later. Caleb Thornton was served at his office. 2 hours after service, my phone rang. Unknown number. Daniel Mercer. I answered. This is Caleb Thornton. The voice was tense, clipped, all the warmth from that midnight phone call stripped away. We need to talk. I almost laughed. No, we don't. You can't sue me for this. It's insane. It's legal. And I have an excellent attorney. This is going to ruin me. You should have thought about that. She told me you two were separated. His voice cracked slightly on the last word. She said you were already getting divorced. That was just paperwork. Everything in me went very still. What did she tell you that? 6 months ago, when we first started seeing each other. She said the marriage was over, that you both knew it, that she was just waiting for the right time to make it official. 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I was building a shelf in the garage. 6 months ago, we went to Carrie's cousin's wedding and danced to a slow song near the end of the night, and she had her head on my shoulder. 6 months ago, I believed with complete certainty that my marriage was intact. She lied to you, I said. My voice came out quieter than I intended. We were never separated. I didn't know you existed until 3 weeks ago. Silence. A long, hollow silence. She lied. Not a question. More like a man watching a floor give way beneath him. Welcome to the club, I said, and I hung up. The next day, Caleb's attorney contacted Monica about settling. He offered $50,000. I said counter with $150,000. Monica raised an eyebrow. You're sure? He makes good money, and he helped take apart something I spent 10 years building. She smiled. I'll call them. We settled at $100,000, paid in installments over 2 years. He also agreed, in writing, to cease all contact with Carrie. When Monica told me the settlement was signed, I sat in my truck in the parking lot outside her office, and I expected to feel something like victory, relief, satisfaction. Instead, I just felt tired. The kind of tired that lives in your bones. The kind that comes from spending months holding yourself together with both hands so you don't fall apart in your own kitchen. The divorce was finalized 8 weeks later. A gray morning, fluorescent lighting. The particular silence of a courtroom that has seen too many endings. Carrie got the house. She'd put more into the down payment, and I didn't have the energy or the desire to fight over walls and floorboards I had painted and fixed and loved. Let her have the deck I built. Let her sit in the garden she planted. I got my truck, my tools, my retirement account, and the quiet, clean absence of anything still owed between us. No alimony. No ongoing payments. A line drawn. When it was over, she found me in the hallway outside the courtroom. Her eyes were red. She looked smaller somehow, or maybe I just saw her differently now. Daniel. Her voice was low. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to happen this way. I looked at her for a long moment. 10 years of mornings. 10 years of inside jokes and quiet evenings and plans for a future that she had already begun walking away from while I was still mapping it. You know what the hardest part is? I said, quietly, not with anger, just with the plain weight of truth. It's not that you fell for someone else. People fall. I could have understood that, maybe, but you let me keep believing we were fine. You looked me in the eye every single day and let me believe I was building something real. You made me feel like I was losing my mind for noticing something was wrong. Her eyes filled. A tear ran down her face, and she didn't wipe it. I didn't know how to tell you, she said. You could have been honest. You could have said you weren't happy. We could have tried counseling. We could have tried something. But you didn't choose that. You chose to let me find out from a phone call at midnight and a man's voice saying, "Hey, baby." My throat tightened around the last 2 words. You chose the coward's way. She flinched, and I turned and walked down the hallway and out through the glass doors into the pale gray morning. I sat in my truck for a little while, not crying, not relieved, just very, very quiet inside. The kind of quiet that comes after a long noise finally stops. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching a story. You're sitting with something, maybe your own something. Drop a comment below. Tell me where you're from. Tell me what you felt reading this. I read every one. Stay for part 5, because what happens after the worst of it, the part nobody talks about, that's the part that actually matters. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood called Belmont. Not much. A small kitchen, a balcony barely big enough for a single chair, a storage unit downstairs where I set up a little workshop. I bought furniture I actually chose, hung pictures I actually liked, put things where I wanted them, left things out, left things crooked, lived in it. The first few weeks were hard in a way I hadn't expected. Not because I missed her exactly, but because I missed the shape of a life shared. The sound of someone else in the kitchen. The particular rhythm of not being alone. I come home to silence and stand in the middle of my small apartment and feel the size of it. But slowly, something else started. I started running again, early mornings, just me and the neighborhood waking up. I joined a gym. I called friends I'd let drift over the years, men I'd been too busy or too comfortable to stay close to, and I let them back in. Marcus took me fishing 3 weekends in a row, and we talked until dark about everything and nothing. I started feeling, gradually, tentatively like myself. Not the version of myself that existed inside the marriage. The one who had slowly, without noticing, stopped taking up his full space. But the earlier version, or maybe a newer version, someone who had been through something and come out the other side still standing. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into Caleb Thornton at a coffee shop downtown. We saw each other across the room. He looked away first. I ordered my coffee, took a table by the window, and didn't say a word. Didn't need to. There was nothing to say that the settlement paperwork hadn't already said more clearly. A few months after that, I heard through a mutual friend that he and Carrie had broken up. Apparently, when the foundation of something is built entirely on the thrill of secrecy, it doesn't survive the light. When there's no marriage left to hide from, no deception left to sustain the excitement, what's left is just two people who got together the wrong way and have to live with that. Who could have seen that coming? People ask me sometimes if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I had confronted her sooner, made different choices, tried harder to save it. And the answer is no. Not because I'm certain I did everything right, but because the marriage I was trying to save didn't exist. I had been devoted to a version of Carrie that was already gone. The woman who could look at me over the dinner table and smile while planning her exit, who could say good night and mean something else entirely, who could let me work and build and plan and love without once telling me the truth. That was not the woman I had married. Or maybe she was, and I just hadn't known it. Either way, she wasn't someone I could have saved because she didn't want to be saved. She wanted to leave, and she was waiting for the right moment, and I got there first. I don't regret walking away. I regret the years I spent not seeing what was in front of me. I regret how easily I dismissed the small, quiet alarms my gut kept sending up. I regret how much of my trust one extended past the point where it was being honored. But those are lessons, not wounds. There's a difference. There's a moment that still visits me sometimes, late at night when it's quiet. 11:52 p.m. The way she grabbed that phone before the second ring. The way she said wrong number without a beat of hesitation. The ease of it, the fluency of it, the way a lie came out of her mouth as naturally as breathing. That was the moment I knew. Not the photos, not the emails, not the attorney's folder or the courtroom. That moment in the dark, when she looked at me and lied without blinking, that's when I already knew. I just hadn't admitted it to myself yet. If you're out there right now and something feels wrong, and you keep talking yourself out of it, keep finding reasonable explanations, keep deciding you must be imagining things, I want you to hear this. You're probably not imagining things. Your gut is not your enemy. The feeling that something is off is not paranoia. It is information, and you're allowed to take it seriously. You deserve someone who comes home to you, not someone who comes home from somewhere else and kisses your cheek in the doorway and calls you babe like nothing happened. Tell me in the comments. Have you ever been in a place where you knew, but you weren't ready to know? Have you ever had to choose between the comfort of not knowing and the pain of finding out? Tell me what that felt like. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life, because this community is built for exactly that. I am 39 years old. I am divorced. I live in a one-bedroom apartment and drive a truck with too many miles on it, and spend my Saturday mornings running through a neighborhood that is starting to feel like mine. and I am happier than I have been in years. Not because everything is perfect. It isn't. Not because I'm not still healing. I am. But because I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not performing calm while something breaks underneath me. I'm not lying beside someone at night and staring at the ceiling wondering what I'm not being told. I'm living in something real, even if that something real is small and quiet and mine alone for now. Because a small, real life is worth more than a large, beautiful lie. And sometimes the wrong number, the one that wakes you up at midnight, the one that shatters the story you've been telling yourself, sometimes that wrong number is exactly the right answer. Just not the one anyone meant to give.